We'll just start out. What's a CASA?
A court-appointed special advocate for children.
Perfect. Lori?
Same question.
Yeah, what's a CASA?
A CASA is a court-appointed special advocate.
Perfect. Wrong. Just kidding. All right. Why did you choose to become a volunteer with CASA?
I read an ad in the paper, in the Auburn Journal, saying they needed someone to be an advocate for children and to go to court and stand up for children. And I thought, I am not a shy person, I could do this. So I called up and I went to a meeting about it, and I thought I could do this. So I pursued it and became a CASA about, I guess it's been 7 years ago that I became a CASA.
In the past 7 years, how many cases have you done?
Well, I had these boys twice. I probably had 5 or 6. I also was a mentor to one of my boys, and I was also family mentor for a while. So I've really done kind of the gamut of what you can do as a CASA.
When did you first meet the boys?
When Jason was, I think he was 8.5. Drake was about 3.5. And I became Jason's CASA. And then later on, the judge asked if I would also be Drake's. So I probably had Jason 5 or 6 months before I got Drake.
And what was their situation?
They were taken from their home and gone back to the Flanagans, which was a great thing to me because I was very impressed with the Flanagan family and their love for children and their big hearts. And so the boys, of course, were more comfortable there than they would have been in some other home because they had been there at one time.
What kind of things did you do with the boys?
Well, you know, when they were younger, I would work hard on trying to come up with things to do with them. One time we went to a park and I wrote down a lot of questions to have a nature hike, and you had to go find a bird or a bug of some kind or so forth. I've done simple things like that. I can't really remember all the things we did. I've taken them to the movies. I've taken all the Flanagan kids to the movies along with my very first family. So I've taken 10 kids to the movies at one time. And it's worked out great, I had a pizza party in the park beforehand and was able to take pizzas on a stone that stayed hot from my house to the park. Worked out really well. And then we went to the movies. And we've done that a couple times, and that's fun to get the two families together and do that kind of thing. But what I like now is the boys are 10 and 15. And I used to take them to a pizza party at Parlor, and they wanted to go play the games. And now they don't want to do that anymore. They just want to sit and talk to me. And I'll say, do you want to go to such and such? No, I'd rather sit and talk. And I love that. I just love that they do that. Makes me feel really special.
What do you think is the most important role as a CASA is for these kids? What was the most important role?
I think to let them know they could trust me and that I was on their side, and I was really interested in what was best for them. I think that's been the most important thing, I had to be objective, and sometimes I had to make a decision or at least express my opinion that wasn't necessarily what I felt in the long run would be the right thing for them, but because of the situation and where the parents were with all of this, and what they had done to get their children back, I had to be objective. And as it turns out, they are where I want them to be. But there's been times when I've struggled with my feelings.
Throughout their case specifically, and you can go into more detail if you want to, but you know, it took 10 years. That's a long time. So your role, how did you help that move forward in the steps that you took, your court reports? I mean, what were you?
Well, when I made my reports, I was, especially this last time, I was really talking about the love they had gotten from the Flanagans, how much the Flanagans wanted them and their family, and I was really saying that they needed to have some kind of stability and not be bouncing back and forth. I also made it very clear that I did not think those boys should be separated, because they were, the constant in their lives was them, each other. And I just could not see them ever being separated. I mean, that's just one thing too much. So I really pushed that.
Were there any other times that you remember really advocating for them and making your voice heard as their advocate?
I spoke up about that in court as well as writing it, that I wanted them to have consistency and stability, and that I was concerned about that.
Lori, as a case manager for CASA, why is it important? I mean, you work with social workers, you work with everybody, but why is it important to have a court-appointed special advocate assigned to our foster kids?
It's important to have a court-appointed special advocate because the children need to have someone who's there for them, that will advocate, facilitate, and monitor as these children work their way through the system, as their parents are trying to reunify. So it's crucial that the children have someone who's visiting with them each week and who can be objective and be able to advocate for the best interests of the children, keeping in mind that reunification with the parents is the first and foremost goal that we have. If that doesn't work out, we need to make sure that we have a plan, a backup plan.
Any other questions? Lori? I know, right? All right, we got some really good sound bits. I know I'm already like, oh yeah, we're getting that one. Oh, we're getting that one.
I just want to make sure that we talk about the consistent adults in the kids' lives.
How about, you didn't assign Diane originally, right?
No, I was not.
Okay. Okay.
And it was the assignment.
Okay.
I think that the CASA, it's really crucial that the CASA be a different kind of an adult in the child's life, and that the CASA is consistent. And so in this particular situation, it was actually really a perfect situation for the kids, because they did have the same CASA available again. And so that Diane could just step right in and pick up from where they were before. And the kids came back, and maybe with a little heavy hearts, and she was there for them, and the Flanagans were there for them. And in the end, perfect situation would have been to have them be with their mom and dad. But if they couldn't, I think that the CASA and the Flanagans were especially important in their lives.
Can you touch on the court report and the importance of that for the judge and the social workers and the crazy busy system that it's in, but then repeat the question in a way that it's not like that?
Well, writing a court report on behalf of the CASA is so crucial, and we have them touch on several different subjects to make sure that the judge is aware of their placement and how they're doing in their placement, how they're doing in school, if the kids have needs, such as if they need to be in therapy, if they want to be playing sports, if they have friends, And it's so important because the judge has said many times that she really looks forward to reading the CASA's report, because they give information that is from week to week. And social workers have so much, they're overburdened with so many cases. It really is a benefit to the judge to get that information from a CASA who's had that one-on-one contact with the kids. And the same is for the attorneys. The kids each have their own attorney as well. And it's important that the minor's attorney are able to read those reports and know what's going on in the kid's life.
All right. I think that's it. No, good. Okay. They're gonna edit like.
Is there anything else that
We'll be
you
lucky I'll get 3 lines.
Well, I think that we should say, what do you think about how easy it was to become, the process to become a CASA?
Will you, yeah.
Well, I'm very impressed with the training we got. We were trained for, how many weeks was that?
It was 30 hours.
30 hours,
What
okay.
was the training? Can you repeat that? Say it.
Okay, when you become a CASA, you are trained for 30 hours. And they have you act out different scenarios, how to meet the foster parents, how to meet the parent if the parent has custody. The things to say, and not to go in like gangbusters and try to be a know-it-all type of person. And I just felt that the training was excellent. That's been 7 years ago, maybe it's changed since then, but I was very impressed with that, and I felt nervous, of course, when I went to my first case, but I felt prepared, like I could do this. So I was real impressed with that. And I've got to say, Lori and the other people in the office, in the CASA office, the supervisors, have always been there for me. And if I was frustrated over a case, I would walk in, and Lori, I remember working with you a lot with that kind of thing, and it wasn't necessarily this case, but she'd say, well, how about have you tried this and this, and how about getting them to do that? And, I had a case or two that were tough. I would cry at night over them because I was worried how the outcome was going to be. And these people in the CASA office are absolutely wonderful, and they will stand behind their CASAs and do what they can to make them stronger in their role.
Well, our 30 hours of training, we have gotten to a point where we can do some online and some in the class. So we have condensed it down to where you can, it makes it a little more easier for the busy, working people. And so we train in a variety of areas. We want to be able to give them a good idea of what court's going to look like. And we want to be able to give them an idea of how it would be to meet the parent, and to come at this from a non-judgmental position, and that we're there for the child, solely for the child.
Cool. Is Anne, what?
I'm Pat Flanagan, and
I'm Susan Flanagan.
How long have you guys been married?
go ahead.
We've been married for 23 years.
Awesome. And how many kids do you have?
A total of 7.
I have some grown children
Cool.
and some grandchildren.
How many grandkids?
11. Yeah,
Awesome. Holy cow. That's
life is good.
life is good. Cool. So let's start out. Will you tell me a little about why you decided to become foster adopt parents, kind of your motivation behind it, and what your first feelings were about it?
Well, I had always dreamed of a house full of children, and Pat was on board for that. And it took us a couple of years, and we finally had Michael, our oldest, who just turned 17. And he was 3 or 4, and he was telling everyone that he was going to be a big brother. And that was news to us, because we didn't know he was going to be a big brother. And so that's what got us started. I met a couple who had started fostering, and just to watch their journey, and decided that might be something that we could do initially to grow our family, but then we realized it's way bigger than that. We have an opportunity to love kids and help them through a struggling time. And so that's how we got started.
What about you, Pat?
I was on board. We became associated with, well, now it's Sierra Forever Families. But at the time, what was their name? Oh, it doesn't matter, but, and we had a worker, and we had a social worker from the county who we were really fond of. We became fond of very quickly. And we said, let's go for it. Then we got a call. And surprisingly, last adopted there, first we had Jason and Drake. Baby and infant and 5. And that was the beginning.
Can you describe when you got the call for them that first time?
We were overjoyed and we were nervous. I'm excited, we were just flooding with all kinds of emotions. And it wasn't until we met them we thought, oh, this is great. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so yeah, we were nervous.
Yeah.
We didn't realize really how big this was. All the details that were ahead of us. So yeah, it was very exciting.
It was like Walmart called and said, your order's in. Paul said, I'll bring them. We'll come get them. And we drove down to Roseville and we met them and we picked them up. And it was the beginning, it was great, just great, baby. And Jason was kind of set, or 5 years old and set in his ways. And I looked at Susan an hour in and I said, whoa, am I going to make it here? He was, every question, everything. But he still does. So it's been incredible. The time and the years we've shared. Drake was a baby, ate his first pizza with us, way too young. We're clear now, nobody can get us in trouble.
Can you describe kind of the journey, because I know that they were back with the biological parents a little bit throughout the last couple of years? Well, you're old, a lot of years. So can you kind
yes.
of recap that for us?
They were with us for 8 months, maybe it was 9 or 9 months. And Mom had done everything she needed to do. She just needed childcare in place, and that wasn't coming together quick enough. So we had a TDM meeting, and we decided, well, she's done everything she could do. How can we, support her through that? So we offered to provide childcare for her. So we did that all summer long, and got to know her and fall in love with her too. And so the kids left. They started school in August, and then we saw them a couple times during the year. Different activities we get together. And it was 18 months later that we got the call from her that they had been detained. So we got to care for them again and try to support her through what she was going through.
And then did they go back into the system, or was that the most recent time?
They did. They were with, Drake was with us for 18 months, and Jason was with us for a year. This was 2 years. He was with us for 2 years. And then they went back, and then when they went back that time, we didn't see him for almost 3.5 years. So yeah, when we got the call that they, were detained again, it was interesting. A lot happens in 3.5 years. They grow up and they mature, and lots of changes. It felt the same, I guess. I don't know how to describe that. Like we had just had this huge hole in our lives. And it feels really good to love and give your love away and tuck little things in their heart that as they grow they can pull out and use, but it hurts too. So it's a toss-up. I guess you have to figure out what's greater, giving it away or not. So.
Michael and Drake, Michael and Jason had been like inseparable for many, all those years, and it was hard on Michael as well as on us. And, some of the in-between times were kind of rough, where and why we separated again. And but Michael was hurt. We ran into Drake one time at the county fair. And it was long enough out of our lives. He and I, we had a special. He was a baby, but no longer. So we met him in the fair, and he kept looking, and I didn't say anything. Like he knew something, but didn't know what, And
that's true. Like he couldn't figure out. He was like, "Are you my cousin?" Like he thought there was something, but he couldn't quite figure out what he was feeling. So it was neat.
It's crazy you don't think about combining into the, if you live in the same area, so it's gonna happen. Yeah, that would be difficult. So this last time, I mean, did you know that it was headed towards adoption, or just kind of hoping, praying, waiting?
We didn't really know where it was going. We had a hunch. I guess you always have a hunch. You wanted to go the way you wanted to go. So it was several months into it when we realized that this is going to be a permanent placement.
We went through a lot. We went through the appeals process, and not our appeals, and we were proactive when we felt the need to be. I was in court every time, and to hear, to know firsthand, and we knew, and our biggest concern was for the boys during that time, that it went, that's the way, that they had to be together no matter what.
It's true, no matter how rocky their life had been, ups and downs and just everything, they always had each other. So that was our goal, was they need each other. No matter what, they need to be together. That's the only constant thing that they've had is each other. With everything that just...
Up until about a year ago, 6 months ago, maybe 6 months a year, Drake had never called Jason by his name. Always called him brother. So now, good news, bad news, without getting inside his head, now he's Jason because he's comfortable. He's surrounded by other siblings, I feel. But he never called him by his name. But this is his whole life.
And only answer this if you're comfortable, but what are your plans for ongoing contact with biological parents? And what have you and the boys discussed about kind of the future?
We have done open adoption and little steps. We are not, as long as it's healthy for the boys, we're in. It becomes unsafe or inappropriate, and they are our first priority to protect them. And it is hard because I've grown to have a relationship with Mom. So that part's hard, you almost get stuck, because I feel for her. I hurt for her, and then I would be mad at her, and then I'm disappointed in her, because I care about her, but ultimately, what's good for them. So we've talked about when it's appropriate, actually this spring, her parents came to a baseball game, they do baseball. So they came to a baseball game, and she'll send texts and pictures every once in a while. But just little steps, just a little bit. It's time for them to understand this is a separation and just get rooted and comfortable. Not that they aren't, they already are very settled into our family. But
we reached out for the baseball game,
yeah.
so to see, get a feel, and the fit wasn't quite what it should be, and we're more than we're more than willing. We're all in a pretty good place. Drake got to meet Drake's mom has a baby girl, and we got to meet her, the baby, and she was like a little baby, right, Drake? Yeah. And when it's right, it's right.
So what about Diane? When did she first kind of come into your lives? And I'm sure you're familiar with that, but can you kind of describe that relationship and when you first met her?
The first time we met Diane, she came to the house to pick Jason up for a night out. I forget what we called it. It was a date night, but night out, a special time, I forget. And it was pretty regular, and they hit it off. Jason does very well one-on-one. He does very well, really, he's just a one-on-one person. So they bonded quickly, and we grown from there. CAPC has been a great support, not only with the children, but they check in with us and our family and see how things are going. It's a great time for the kids, or for Jason and Drake to have time that is their special time. Like school and busy, and they need to have time where they can get away and have a good time. we've done it, and she's been amazing to do many things together.
Got to the point where my turn, no, my turn, between them, you know, because one is good. They occasionally went out two at a time, but it's my turn, no, mine. And it's been wonderful. We have some very strong feelings about CASA, and I was sitting there praying this day, you know, people, we run into people in the system with some negativity, but I just don't think that they open up to think about, like, we've seen Diane become our advocate in the court, where nobody had the ear of the judge for the children's sake. The CASA worker we had Holly before the board for some of the other children, and Diane was always there and always advocated for them. So it was a very positive.
Right, she was a voice, she's always been a voice for them. And they need that, they need to be heard. Other than just Pat and I. Yeah, so she's just a safe person to know, not threatening, not coming in and, you know, what's this all about? Nothing. It was very comfortable, very safe, and it's a good relationship for them and then, you know, the rest too.
Well, absolutely. Not to make it, it's not a political thing, but it's just so obvious how good. I mean, the first time, I don't think, how long has CASA been around?
Placer came about 10 years.
And I think it just started right after.
It was not, we didn't have the access, you know, when it came, but it's wonderful. Anytime we were at any groups or anything, and people would say, well, are you thinking about it? Well, what are you thinking about? And there were times when it's not convenient, but if it's good for them, it's good for everybody.
So you had other kids that had CASA?
We had Holly was Matthews, CASA worker, and Holly and her husband we became friends. I don't know, we were friends.
After the case closed?
After the kids closed, yes.
Good job.
After it closed.
Of course.
No, for real. And she was wonderful. She was what Matthew, absolutely what Matthew was, a perfect parent. And yeah, I don't know if there's anybody else in the world with it. Matthew has some special needs, and she was just what he needed. And gave him everything that, you know, that emotional extra kick that, you know, he got. And she was a wonderful, wonderful lady, right?
So do your CASA still stay in contact with kids?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
We do.
Staying on regular visits, they get together one-on-one, and it's good. It will be, as long as it's doable, it will be a relationship that we will totally nurture and encourage and support for as long as we can.
When Diane, sometimes we'll drop Jason off, and Diane will have a crew of past cases, and Jason, and what's his name, Jason? Philip are friends. The befores and the afters, and they're still going out, and still socializing, still friends, and total success stories at the moment. Right, Jay? Yeah, so total success stories, and he's maintained this relationship. Diane has maintained these relationships. It's pretty deep.
Any other questions?
What would you say is the biggest impact that CASA's had on your children throughout the cases? Biggest impact?
And repeat the question. Okay, I was going to say, I think, yeah.
Let's see, I think that the biggest impact for the relationship has been that they just have another adult to talk with, to share with, just almost like an extended family member that I can just sit with you and pour my heart out and just have someone else there to listen. Someone outside of parents or teachers, just a neutral person. And I think that it's they feel safe enough to share their life with. So I feel that just having that extra support, outside person to help them through, give them advice. I love to see the difference.
My name is Jason Flanagan and I'm 15.
My name is Drake Flanagan and I am 10.
Are you guys brothers?
Yes.
Can you say yes, we're brothers?
Yes, we're brothers.
How far back do you remember?
Really, I gotta say, around the second time I remember more than my first.
Second time
Of being taken back to my biological parents.
what do you remember?
Well, I remember Paul, who used to be our social worker. He came up the driveway and he picked me up, and this time I was going to my biological dad's house, and so we went to that house, and we weren't even there for 3 months, not even 3 months, and next thing I know, our dad now, Pat, he comes up in a truck and he says, "Let me have my boy." And then next thing you know, we drive home, and then after we drive home, they had a sign out saying "Welcome home."
How about you? What do you remember?
I only remember these 4 years that I was with them.
Do you remember? So when was the first time you met Diane and you remember?
This time that I came back.
Where did she take you?
Foster please.
Where?
Foster please.
Oh, yum. Where's your favorite outing to go with Diane?
We usually also go to Foster's Freeze.
What do you guys talk about?
We just talk about, I like hearing stories that she tells us going around at her house. So I know we always ask what sort of stories she has going on, whether it's her ranch work that's going on, or funny stories with some of her friends that she's talking about, or when she goes to choir, it's always stories, really.
And did Diane kind of explain why she was there when you first met her? And you can say no.
Not that I can remember.
Bad question. Do you know what I mean? No, really? Come on, help me out. Let me grab my computer. Hold. I have a question. Can you tell me about the funnest outing that you've had with Diane? The funnest thing you guys did?
The funnest thing we've done is whenever we went to one of those Christmas parties where a lot of other CASA kids were there, and of course we met up with her other CASA boys named Philip, and so there it was just really fun. There was games that we played, there outside we hung out. I remember we went to a park. We've been to parks, and always going to the parks is really fun, even if we're just sitting at a bench talking. Those are the ones I found most fun.
So what school are you at?
I go to Inspire Learning Academy.
I only go to that 2 times a week.
And what grade are you in?
5th.
I'm sophomore.
Do you have a favorite subject?
Favorite subject?
Do you have one that you hate?
Football.
You
I used to like.
Language arts.
When you first met Pat and Susan, your parents, what did you think? Was it scary? Was it kind of cool? And were they nice? Like what do you remember?
The only thing I could really remember back is when they picked us up, and I remember vaguely the car, but I remember them picking us up, and I gotta say, when I was younger, the whole time I always thought of it as being at a friend's house. That's how it always portrayed onto me, is being at a friend's house. But as I grew up, I started seeing it more as a family instead of a friend's house.
The first time this time, whenever they came to pick me up, I really enjoyed it because I got to teach Lily how to roller skate.
Do you like being a big family?
It has its perks, yes.
They help me with my chores, so I don't have to do that as much.
That's awesome. How do you feel? When were you adopted?
Last year.
Last year.
Well, what month last year?
April.
It was April.
Oh, last year. What did you think about that? Were you excited? Was just kind of like, were you excited?
It was really exciting because we had a lot of family members coming from everywhere. We had some family members coming from Texas and some family members coming from New York and New Jersey. So it was really fun to see everybody get together.
What about you? Do you remember it?
Yes.
Did you have fun? Good.
I liked it because we had a big cake.
When you're old and you remember yourself as a kid, this is going to be like one of those crazy experiences. You're going to be like, I was adopted, that's awesome. But what do you think, how do you think that's going to affect you when you're older? Was it, you know what I mean?
I find that I could tell other people the experiences and what it is, and that being a foster child isn't a bad thing. Some people might look at it like, oh, you're adopted, your parents must have done such bad things, but they're looking at it from the wrong perspective, and that they should look at it from a good perspective, that they were welcoming to someone else's house, and that those family now love them, and not only they're not doing it for the money, they're doing it for the personality of the child, and so yeah.
So good experience overall? Good experience out of a not so good experience, but good experience?
Yes.
Good. Any questions? Mm-hmm. All right. You're just like little mini-me's. Love it. Well, thank you guys very much for sharing that. You're awesome.